It's been months since it started. At first, it was small things, double checking that text before sending it, overanalyzing what someone meant by a simple okay, but now it's everywhere. Your heart races when your phone rings. You rehearse conversations in your head before they even happen. You're lying in bed, exhausted, your mind replaying that one awkward moment from years ago, as if it just happened yesterday. You tell yourself, relax, it's no big deal, but your brain doesn't listen. Instead, it's on high alert, scanning for threats that aren't there. Your stomach twists, your chest tightens, your hands get clammy. Sometimes it's a constant hum in the background, an uneasy feeling you can't shake. Other times it hits like a wave, sudden and overwhelming, leaving you breathless, making your heart race and your chest tighten like you're having a heart attack. That is a panic attack, which rarely happens. These are all forms of anxiety. It's not just worrying too much or being dramatic. It's your brain working overtime to protect you, except it can't tell the difference between real danger and a harmless situation. Imagine your body has a smoke alarm, but instead of going off only when there's a fire, it screams every time you toast a piece of bread. That's what an anxiety disorder feels like. Your fight or flight system firing off when it doesn't need to. Technically, there are different types of anxiety disorders, each bringing a unique experience. Generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, feels like a constant state of worry. You can't shake the feeling that something will go wrong, even when there's no clear reason. Your mind jumps from one fear to another: work, relationships, health, the future, leaving you in a never-ending loop of what-ifs. Then there's social anxiety disorder, where every conversation feels like an audition and every interaction is a chance to mess up. You replay everything you saw, convinced you sounded awkward or embarrassing. Even simple things, ordering food, making eye contact, or speaking in a group, it feels overwhelming, as if the whole world is judging your every move. And of course, there are phobias, where fear isn't just anxiety, it's paralyzing. Maybe it's flying, heights, small spaces, or something else entirely. No matter how much you try to rationalize it, your body reacts like you're in real danger, making avoidance feel like the only way to cope. While each of these disorders feels different, they all have one thing in common. They make your brain believe there is a threat, even when none exists. The good news, you're not stuck like this. Therapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, helps retrain your brain to separate real threats from false alarms. Simple breathing techniques can calm your nervous system, and in some cases, medication can help balance the chemicals fueling your anxiety. Anxiety tells you you're powerless, but that's a lie. You can take control. The first step? Understanding what's happening in your brain, because once you do, you can start rewriting the story. Anxiety can make you feel like your brain is constantly on high alert, but what happens when your emotions themselves become unpredictable? Number 2, depression. With depression, you feel long-lasting sadness, loss of interest in life, and a feeling of emptiness that lasts for weeks up to months. It starts slowly. Maybe you just notice the exhaustion, waking up tired no matter how much you slept. The things you used to love, like hanging out with friends or watching your favorite show, suddenly feel meaningless. That is what depression feels like. Therapy and medications are the standard for treating depression. Number 3, bipolar disorder. One moment, you're so low that even getting out of bed feels impossible. Then you go into a manic phase where you're bursting with energy, talking a mile a minute, convinced you can take on the world. And just as quickly, you crash again, wondering why you can't seem to find a middle ground. At first, you tell yourself it was just a bad week, but then the bad weeks turn into months. Then, another day, it flipped. You felt unstoppable, your brain raced with ideas, your energy was through the roof, and sleep felt optional. Everything seemed exciting. Maybe you spent money recklessly, started projects you couldn't finish, or made impulsive decisions that seemed brilliant in the moment but left you questioning everything later. And just as suddenly as that high came, it left, leaving you drained, confused, and wondering what is wrong with me. This is what it's like to live with bipolar disorder. Unlike normal ups and downs, bipolar disorders cause extreme emotional shifts that disrupt daily life. It's not just about being moody or overdramatic. It's your brain struggling to regulate emotions properly. The last type of mood disorder is cyclothymic disorder, which is a milder form of bipolar disorder with emotional ups and downs that aren't as extreme but still disrupt life. These conditions aren't just about willpower. You can't simply snap out of it. They're caused by a mix of genetics, brain chemistry, and life experiences. But here's the good news. Mood disorders are treatable. Therapy, lifestyle changes, and sometimes medication can help stabilize emotions and bring back balance. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Your emotions might feel like a roller coaster right now, but with the right support, you can learn to ride the waves without feeling like you're drowning. Number 4, obsessive compulsive disorder, when your brain gets stuck on repeat. Mood disorders can make your emotions feel unpredictable, but what happens when your thoughts get stuck in an endless loop? OCD is a cycle of unwanted thought and repetitive actions meant to reduce anxiety. For example, someone might fear contamination and wash their hands until their skin is raw, or they might need to rearrange objects in a certain way to feel right. The problem, the relief is temporary. Soon, the cycle starts again. Imagine this, you're about to leave the house, but a thought pops into your head. Did I lock the door? You know you locked it, but doubt creeps in. So, you go back and check, then check again, and again, and again. No matter how many times you confirm it, your brain just won't let it go. Or maybe you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror and immediately fixate on a flaw, something no one else would even notice, but to you, it feels unbearable. You analyze it, obsess over it, maybe even avoid going out because of it. The more you try to stop thinking about it, the worse it gets. This is what it's like to live with an obsessive compulsive or related disorder. When certain thoughts, fears, or behaviors take over your mind, making it feel impossible to move on. These disorders aren't about being quirky or a perfectionist. They can be deeply distressing, affecting daily life and relationships. These disorders go far beyond simple habits or personality quirks. They can take over a person's life, making everyday tasks feel impossible. Now, when it comes to body dysmorphic disorder, BDD, it is when someone becomes obsessed with flaws in their appearance, even if they're minor or non-existent. They might spend hours checking mirrors, avoiding social situations, or chasing cosmetic changes, yet, no matter what they do, they never feel satisfied with how they look. On the other hand, hoarding disorder makes letting go of things feel unbearable, even if they have no real use for those things. Over time, the clutter builds, sometimes making homes unsafe, but it's not just about being messy, it's a deep emotional attachment to these things, often tied to fear, anxiety, or past trauma. These disorders happen because the brain's alarm system gets stuck in overdrive, making certain thoughts or fears feel like emergencies. The good news? Therapy, especially cognitive behavioral therapy and exposure and response prevention, can help break the cycle. Medication can also help regulate the brain's response to these thoughts. If you feel trapped in your own mind, just know this. You're not broken. The brain might be stuck on repeat, but with the right tools, you can press pause and take control again. Number 5. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, when the past just won't let go. While OCD traps the mind in repetitive thoughts and behaviors, trauma-related disorders keep the past alive in ways that feel impossible to escape. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, happens when your mind and body go through something so overwhelming that it changes the way you see the world. Even when you tell yourself it's over, your brain doesn't always listen. A sound, a smell, or even a passing thought can pull you back in an instant. Your heart pounds, your chest tightens, and suddenly it feels like you're reliving something you desperately want to forget. Maybe it comes as nightmares that keep you awake, or maybe it stays in the background, making you anxious, irritable, or emotionally numb. You want to move on, but no matter how hard you try, the past just won't let go. This is what it's like to live with a trauma-related disorder, when something you've been through continues to affect your mind and body long after the danger has passed. Trauma rewires the brain's alarm system, making it hyper-aware of potential threats, even when none exist. It's not about being too sensitive or dwelling on the past. Trauma changes how the brain processes memories, emotions, and even physical sensations, caused by experiencing or witnessing a traumatic event, such as abuse, accidents, war, or violence. Symptoms include flashbacks, nightmares, severe anxiety, and emotional numbness. Triggers, things that remind you of the trauma, can bring intense emotional and physical reactions, making it hard to feel safe. But trauma isn't always tied to one big event. Number 6. Adjustment disorders. Adjustment disorders happen when you experience major life changes like a breakup or job loss caused by prolonged emotional distress, making it hard to function. Many people with trauma-related disorders experience chronic pain, digestive issues, fatigue, or a constant feeling of being on edge. This happens because the nervous system gets stuck in fight or flight mode, unable to fully relax. But here's the truth. Healing is possible. Trauma-focused therapy, like EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and cognitive processing therapy, CPT, can help rewire the brain's response to trauma. Mindfulness, grounding techniques, and sometimes medication can also help regulate emotions and create a sense of safety. If you feel like you're trapped in the past, just know this. Trauma does change you, but it doesn't have to define you. With the right support, you can take back control and find peace again. Number 7. Attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Just like trauma can keep the brain stuck in survival mode, neurodevelopment disorders shape how the brain processes attention, learning, and social interactions from an early age. ADHD, or attention deficit/hyperactivity disorder, isn't just about being easily distracted or hyperactive. It's a difference in how the brain regulates focus, impulse control, and motivation. You've always felt a little different. Maybe you struggled to sit still in class, constantly distracted no matter how hard you tried to focus. Or maybe social interactions never seemed to come as easily to you as they did for others. Small talk felt confusing, eye contact felt uncomfortable, and unspoken rules just didn't make sense. Perhaps learning itself was a challenge. No matter how much effort you put in, reading felt like a jumble of letters, and math problems never quite clicked, or writing was simply exhausting. People might have taken it for laziness, but deep down, you knew you were trying just as hard, if not harder than everyone else. These are signs of neurodevelopment disorders, conditions that affect brain development from an early age. They aren't about being broken or less capable. They simply mean the brain processes information differently. ADHD affects how people think, learn, and experience the world around them. They're not flaws or weaknesses, just different ways that the brain works. For example, it's like having a bunch of tabs open in your brain all at the same time. Focusing can be tough, and you might find yourself distracted easily or acting on impulse without really thinking it through. But when something catches your interest, you can focus on it for hours, blocking everything else out. It's not laziness, it's just how your brain handles attention. Then there's autism, where social situations can feel confusing. Small talk might be tiring, and things like certain sounds, lights, or textures might overwhelm you. But autistic people also often have deep passions and unique ways of seeing the world, noticing things that others might miss. People with learning disabilities might struggle with specific subjects. Reading might feel like a jumble of letters with dyslexia. Numbers don't always make sense with dyscalculia, or writing can be a huge challenge with dysgraphia. But none of these issues have anything to do with intelligence. They just need different strategies to process information. These conditions don't just go away, but with the right support, like therapy, medication, or accommodations at school, life can get much easier. Your brain might work differently, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. In fact, it might be your greatest strength. With the right tools, you can turn what others see as challenges into your greatest strengths. If any of this stuff feels familiar, you are not alone. Mental health struggles aren't a personal failure. They're just different ways that the brain processes our world. And just like any other health condition, they can be managed with the right support. The first step, reach out, talk to someone, explore therapy, or learn more about what you're experiencing. Healing is possible, and you deserve it. If you think you struggle with any of this, I have a clinic that can help you. Zenith Psychiatry. They have a team of psychiatrists, nurse practitioners, and medical assistants. They accept all the major insurances and offer affordable cash payments. And the best part, they can see you on telehealth. I'll put the link to our website down in the description below. Just click the link and you can schedule your appointment. If this helped you, be sure to share it. Someone else might need to hear it too. You matter, and help is out there when you're ready.